Hello, welcome to the podcast. You know the show for love triangles, secret babies, and dramatic returns from the dead. But today, we're leaving behind the town square and stepping into Salem's strangest stories. We're talking mind control, demon possession, cryogenic freezing, plots so wild they make your average soap twist look downright tame. From the devil himself to Princess Gina, today's deep dive explores the times days of our lives said hold my beer and went full-on sci-fi, supernatural, and sometimes just plain bonkers. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the deep dive, you know Days of Our Lives, for its classic soap opera twists and turns, right? The love affairs, the betrayals, all that family drama.
Yeah, the standard stuff.
But today, well, we're not really treading that familiar ground. We're plunging into the wonderfully wild, kind of weird side of Salem. The storylines that went completely off the rails, straight into sci-fi and the supernatural.
Absolutely. And look, for a show that's getting close to its 60th season.
Incredible.
And 15,000 episodes? It's built this legacy, not just on, everyday drama, but on truly jaw-dropping, totally unexpected narratives.
Yeah.
Forget your typical soap stuff for a minute. We're talking mind-controlled, like straight out of a spy movie.
Right.
Actual demon possession resurrections with these bizarre explanations.
Almost funny sometimes.
Yeah, almost. And even characters, get this, who were genetically engineered.
Exactly. So our mission in this deep dive is basically to unpack some of the most surprising, most outlandish plots where Days seemed to just say, hold my beer, and leaped into the unbelievable.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, so let's dive right into a prime example. Mind control. Brainwashing. This has definitely popped up more than once.
It really has.
Yeah.
And a key one that jumps out is the Stefano storyline. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
Big bad Stefano Demera. Well, through Dr. Wilhelm Rolf, naturally.
Of course.
Managed to get his entire personality, his memories, everything, implanted into Steve Johnson's brain.
Just like that. It feels much more sci-fi than, daytime TV.
Totally. And here's where it gets even wild. This wasn't like a one-off thing. This idea of personality transfer,
yeah,
they actually used it again.
You're kidding.
Nope. With equally shocking results. To turn Hope Brady,
yeah,
everyone thought she was dead.
Right, after the explosion.
Into Princess Gina von Amberg, the art thief.
The Princess Gina plot was,
yeah,
wow. So Stefano kidnaps Hope.
Who everyone thinks is gone.
And uses a computer chip, like literally a chip.
A computer chip.
Yeah.
To implant Gina's memories, her personality. So suddenly Hope, this heroine, is working for Stefano, stealing art.
That's audacious, taking this core character and just flipping her identity completely.
It really was. It's fascinating how they mixed this, like you said, almost Bond villain tech into the, the town square drama of Salem.
It was a bold move. And the mind games, they didn't stop there, did they?
Nope. Years later, Stefano kind of revisited the theme. He brainwashed his own son, Jad Demera.
Chad?
Yeah, turned him into the Pawn 2.0 to do his dirty work.
Yeah.
Seems like mind control was definitely in Stefano's playbook.
It really does.
And it's interesting, if you look back, his desire to control people, it was there even before the computer chips arrived in Salem.
Oh,
Remember, he tried to hypnotize Marlena, tried to make her fall in love with him.
Yes. I do remember that. That didn't quite work out how he planned, though.
No, not exactly, but it kind of inadvertently opened the door for Marlena to something much more supernatural.
Perfect segue. Okay, next deep dive topic. Demon possession.
Oh, boy.
The 1990s storyline. Marlena Evans, Salem's top psychiatrist, possessed by the devil. I mean, you just don't see that every day.
You certainly don't. That storyline was huge. People still talk about it.
Definitely.
We saw all the classic signs, Marlena levitating.
Levitating.
Her eyes glowing, that creepy yellow color. It was such a massive shift from the usual relationship drama. It really brought this full-on supernatural thing into the show.
Why do you think they did that? Just for shock value?
Probably.
No.
I mean, it was definitely unforgettable. Maybe they just wanted to create something truly, truly shocking.
Well, it worked. Marlena was genuinely terrifying, and it took Father John Black doing a full-blown exorcism to save her, right?
Yep. The whole 9 yards. It was a really intense storyline. And it's worth noting, they did revisit demon possession later on. Much later.
Oh, yeah, with Doug Williams, right?
Exactly. Doug became the vessel that time. But, I don't know. It didn't quite hit the same way.
No, I agree.
Some people felt it just kind of dragged on, maybe lacked that initial shock factor.
Yeah.
But the original Marlena possession, Even though it was pretty polarizing at the time, now it's seen as this, like, classic legendary days moment. The sheer audacity of it.
Totally legendary. Okay, so from mind control and demons, let's jump into another huge days thing. Resurrections.
Yeah.
And faked deaths.
Huh. Yeah, death in Salem seems more like a temporary setback.
That's a good way to put it. A temporary inconvenience.
Right. Characters there, they just have this amazing knack for bouncing back from the grave. And often the explanation involves some kind of sci-fi or, supernatural twist.
Okay, give us an example.
Okay, Nicole Walker. She supposedly died in this massive explosion, right?
Yeah, seemed pretty final.
Only to show up later wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Disguised as Kristen DiMera.
A mask. Like the Mission Impossible mask.
Apparently. Incredibly realistic one. And the real Nicole. Turns out she was alive the whole time, just hanging out in Chicago.
Get out of your Chicago, the lengths they go to.
Seriously. It's wild.
Okay, that's a good one. What else?
Well, then there's Will Horton. He was resurrected, but came back with amnesia.
Amnesia, classic.
And he ends up living with Susan Banks.
Oh, Susan Banks. Okay.
Who, in this truly bizarre twist, convinced him he was her dead son, E.J. DiMera.
Wait, what? She convinced Amnesiac Will he was EJ?
Yep. The layers of just weirdness and mistaken identity are kind of mind-boggling. It almost feels like the writers are daring each other to come up with crazier ways to bring people back.
It really does. Okay, any more resurrection madness?
Oh, yeah. Can't forget Nick Fallon. He was actually brought back from the dead by the devil himself.
By the devil, like the same one that possessed Marlena.
Seems like it. His whole return was just about getting revenge before, well, he died again.
Wow. It just shows, the show's totally willing to embrace the most unbelievable reasons for someone to pop back up in Salem. These supernatural bits almost become normal there.
It's true. And just when you think you've heard it all, Bo Brady.
Ah, yes.
Died from a brain tumor. Very sad. Or so we thought.
Right. Turns out, nope. He was actually alive, being kept cryogenically frozen.
Frozen, like Walt Disney.
Basically. By Megan DiMera, naturally. One of the DiMeras is always involved.
Always. It's like Salem has this secret high-tech freezer waiting for characters who need a temporary exit.
Pretty much. And we absolutely have to talk about the Salem Stalker storyline from 2003, 2004.
Oh my God, yes. The Stalker.
So many characters. Roman, Maggie, Victor, like half the core cast, seemingly murdered by Marlena.
Who was maybe possessed again, or brainwashed. It was confusing.
Right, but the big shocker was they were all alive on Meliswan Island.
Meliswan, which is...
New Salem, spelled backwards.
Oh, clever.
It was all this huge, complex plot by Andre DiMera.
Yep.
Brainwashing involved, of course. It was this massive fake-out that kept everyone glued to their TVs.
A truly epic fake-out. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. From faked deaths to something maybe even scarier. Being buried alive.
Oof.
Yeah.
Days has gone there, too, hasn't it?
It has, and the most iconic one probably is Carly Manning back in '93.
Carly.
Yeah.
Yes. What happened there?
The villain, Vivian Alamain. She drugged Carly, used some weird herbs to make it look like she was dead,
Okay.
and then buried her. In a coffin. Alive.
No. That's terrifying.
It was truly dark. And get this, the coffin was specially designed.
How so?
It had oxygen tanks and a radio transmitter.
A radio transmitter? Why?
So Vivian could taunt her,
Yeah.
talk to her while she was trapped underground, running out of air.
That is deeply unsettling.
Oh,
Just claustrophobic and awful to even think about.
Absolutely. And Louise Sorel, who played Vivian so brilliantly.
Amazing villain. She's talked about that storyline a lot. How much impact it had, how people still remember it. It just taps into that primal fear, being trapped, helpless.
Definitely leaves a mark. Okay, wow. Now let's delve into some really weird origin stories. Genetic engineering, unconventional families.
Right. Days took a sharp turn into pure sci-fi with the Gemini twins back in 2002. Cassie and Rex.
The Gemini twins, I remember them. Their arrival was super mysterious.
Totally shrouded in mystery. There was actually a theory going around Salem, and maybe among viewers too, that they were aliens.
Aliens, seriously.
Yeah, they crash landed, kinda. Their behavior was weird, their appearance. It fueled the speculation.
The silver jumpsuits didn't help. And didn't they speak some weird language at first?
Exactly. It all screamed extraterrestrial. But the truth, well, it was arguably even more outlandish.
Okay, what was it?
They were genetically engineered humans.
Genetically engineered? How?
The product of some secret DiMera and Evans experiment using DNA from Roman Brady and Kate Roberts.
Roman and Kate's DNA, so they were siblings, to Lucas and Sammy, Sort of.
Basically. Talk about a complicated family tree, right? It was the kind of twist you just did not see coming.
No kidding. A total sci-fi premise dropped into the middle of Salem.
Yeah, it blended the usual soap drama with this really distinct science fiction idea. And speaking of complicated histories,
Uh-oh.
we got to talk about John Black.
Oh, John Black. Where do you even start?
Exactly. His true identity has been this constant saga, retcons, reveals. He showed up originally as Roman Brady.
Right. Everyone thought he was Roman returned from the dead.
But then, nope.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out he's a separate guy with deep ties to the Damaras, obviously.
Always the Damaras.
And this persistent amnesia about who he really is. His backstory just keeps changing and evolving. It's become like a defining thing for his character. Maybe a bit of a running gag.
Definitely a running gag among fans. Every time John thinks he knows who he is, boom, another layer gets peeled back.
Yeah.
Okay, before we wrap this up, let's touch on just a couple more really unique, kind of bizarre Days moments.
Okay. One that really stands out was when Sammy Brady, Alison Sweeney, went on maternity leave back in 2005.
Right. What did they do? Write her out for a bit?
Not exactly. Instead, they had Sammy disguise herself as a man named Stan.
Sammy disguised herself as a man named Stan.
Yes. And Stan was actually played by a male actor, Dan Wells.
Wait, so a male actor played Sammy pretending to be a man?
You got it. It was definitely unconventional choice. Very talked about in soap history. Kind of highlights the creativity, maybe the occasional desperation when shows have to work around real life.
That is wild.
Hey.
And pretty funny, honestly.
Yeah, it was something else.
And didn't Days also kind of push the envelope sometimes with almost uncomfortable relationships?
Yeah, they definitely tiptoed into territory that pushed daytime boundaries back then. Like Marie Horton being attracted to her brother who had amnesia and a reconstructed face so she didn't recognize him.
Oof.
Or Lucas and Cassie having this romantic thing going on before they found out they were technically half-siblings through that whole Gemini twin experiment.
Right, the genetic engineering fallout.
Yeah. Those moments may be a bit controversial, but they certainly added to the show's reputation for doing the unexpected and getting people talking.
Absolutely. So, okay, as we kind of resurface from this deep dive into Salem's wild side, it's just undeniable, isn't it, when Days of Our Lives goes sci-fi or supernatural,
Yeah.
the level of creativity and sometimes just pure absurdity is really something else.
It really is. These plots, I mean, yeah, they stretch believability way past the breaking point sometimes.
Sometimes, always.
Okay, often. But they've absolutely captivated audiences, sometimes shocked them for decades. It's a huge part of why the show's lasted so long, I think.
Totally agree. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener.
Mm-hmm.
Given this incredibly long, incredibly unpredictable history, what's next? What future sci-fi or supernatural craziness might be waiting for Salem? Which character who's currently dead might pop back up with the most unbelievable explanation we've seen yet?
The possibilities, as we've definitely seen today, seem pretty much endless.
They really do. So if this deep dive got you thinking or maybe brought back some wild memories, maybe go revisit some of these classic clips or storylines, explore the truly unique world of Days of Our Lives. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
So Days of Our Lives has never been afraid to go big, go weird, and sometimes go way over the top. Whether it's people rising from the dead, being possessed by demons, or turning into genetically engineered twins, one thing's for sure, Salem never runs out of surprises. Who knows what's next? Maybe the next big twist is just one resurrection, mask reveal, or mind chip away. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time for more twists from Salem.